Hey everybody, it's Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 15th day of, I don't want that up, the 15th day of April 2020. Where are my notes? There they are. Whenever I bring this screen up and I hit record, everything else that's sitting on the screen goes away, of course, and because that window becomes active. So I have to go find it again and bring it up. So I have my astrology notes. Moon's in the 10th house Aquarius. Focus on safely networking with others. Think outside the box again today. Listen, the whole astrology over this last while now, I don't know, months, has really been about, I guess, reassessment and seeing the truth of things. Since people have been self-isolating, and we talked about it yesterday, and I think that my husband and I decided that we're into our third month because I think it was toward the end of February where it was clear that this was going to happen or need to happen, and so, well, we knew it in February, but we kept just kind of being careful and doing everything we could to stay safe. No masks or gloves yet, but then we started. After we bought the baby chickens toward the end of February, then we began self-isolating after that. So we've actually been doing this for a while. But for others, there's a lot of unsure. You're very unsure. You don't necessarily, maybe you're not working from home. You're just not working. And maybe the business closed that you were working at. Maybe that's temporary. Maybe it's not. So there's a lot of people that are feeling unsure about what's going to happen. The stimulus checks, of course, are being screwed up by the guy in the Oval Office, just like everything else, just like the whole response to the pandemic. So, nothing new there, just more nonsense. And so I think that, but basically, what it's basically telling us is that we're just going to have to hang in there a while longer, and we're going to have to understand that maybe opinions about things, as more truth comes out, that they're going to change. This last weekend, there was an article that I guess in the New York Times, and I talked about this the last couple of days, mentioning it. I don't subscribe to the Times, and so I've not read it. But excerpts from it are really shocking about how much he did not respond to this. And I think that if you are a supporter, you're going to have to start asking yourself why. What's going on that this guy can't figure out that we're in trouble here? So I think that while we're, of course, networking at home with one another, maybe for work, maybe not, right now, where there's a conjunct between the moon and Uranus, where it's suggesting that we avoid getting too, up in people's faces about anything right now, because obviously we're all going to deal with this in our own way. We're all going to have moments of frustration where maybe we're just out of control and maybe we're upset or whatever. And so we just have to give people their space to be at this moment. However they are, however they're reacting, and just allow that to happen and be there to love them and support them and not judge them. Pay attention to what's going on, to the truth that's going on, and adjust your perceptions and your beliefs accordingly. At some point, I think you're going to realize that any support has been misplaced with a man that's simply not fit to be in the position he's in, for whatever reason. If it's the mental illness that some are saying he has, if it's the dementia others are saying he has, if it's the drug addiction people are alleging, you take all, and if it's all three, you have a recipe for disaster, and that's what we have. So if you start thinking about things from that perspective, what if they're right? What if what we've been seeing all along, although now it's all alone, has been an expression of illness of some kind, of either a a mentally ill condition. They're saying malignant narcissism. Narcissism is the diagnosis, which is a combination of paranoia, sadism, narcissism, and someone who's sociopath. So sociopathy is the word that's used. But if you start looking at his response, it's not normal. No other president would do this. No other president would behave the way that he does in disasters. Just look at Puerto Rico. They still don't have, their energy growth still hasn't been fixed. They don't have electricity. They don't have clean water. I mean, my God, it's a tourist. Well, anyway, this is what we're seeing. And so use this time to keep your ego under control. Sun square Jupiter. Avoid arrogance. What if you're wrong about this guy? What if you've always been wrong about this guy? What if having him in this office is the worst possible thing that could ever happen to all of us? What if that's the truth? What if you simply were conned by a really good con man? That's not your fault, but at the same time, wake up. The same Uranus, semi-square Neptune, it's a weak influence, but it wasn't initially strong for a very long time. When the truth was coming out about him and what he's really not fit to be, how he's not fit to be there. So right now, because we didn't get a handle on the pandemic early enough, because we didn't start self-isolating in February when we all should have, and when he was being told that that's what needed to happen immediately. I mean, all you have to do is look at New Zealand. Granted, the fact it's small, but comparatively speaking, obviously, but their leader did the right thing, and they're doing fine. See, and we could have maybe even been beyond the self-isolation at this point had we done it back then as a country. But oh no, we're still not on the same page. And guess who's at the heart of that? The president. Oh yeah. The one who we need to be afraid of. The one who's been playing a con on us all this time. So right now we have a chance to reassess. You see that Pluto in the ninth house Capricorn, considering higher aspects of life, exploring new meaning. It may be that you really have to reassess right now what you've been thinking. But if we don't get on the same page here, we're going to be fighting this forever. And businesses are going to be opening and reclosing and opening and reclosing. And what a pain that's going to be. We need for life to get back to normal. And the only way that that's going to happen is if we all go in the same direction. So if you've got a governor that's not shutting down your state, that doesn't mean that you can't shut yourself down and say, you know what, I'm not going to go out. I'm going to reduce everything. I'm going to wear gloves. I'm going to wear a mask. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to be on the same page and in unity with everybody else against the virus, because it's not a hidden enemy. It's right out front. Just watch the news, go online, you'll see it everywhere. This is real and it's affecting people. But the issue, and I write all this stuff out for the astrology in the morning, and one of the things that I wrote though, and I put the whole thing in bold because I think it's really the issue here. Venus semi-square Pluto, we're in a really difficult time and we're unsure. Maybe income is not there. The stimulus check hasn't come. It's not going to be enough. People don't know what's going to happen. So in that moment, again, we're all at differing levels of emotions on this. And one day we're going to feel one way and another day we might be completely falling apart. We don't know. The thing is, all of us are in that position right now. There's not a single person that doesn't feel this, that doesn't feel the concern, the worry over what's going to happen. So if we can band together and not leave anybody out of the loop, so to speak, if we've been estranged from anyone, let's get back in contact with them, especially if it's family. Check in with people and make sure that they're doing okay. Just doing that keeps you reconnected, or keeps you connected with the rest of the world, even if it's just your corner of it. From there, each one is doing that, and so it all spreads out, doesn't it? And eventually, we're all connected with one another, and we're all going in the same direction. We're all there to support each other and to talk each other through this, to help where we can. If you can network with neighbors, maybe someone is out of something that you have plenty of and you can share it. Again, this is the time to do that. And just show the fool in the Oval Office that, hey, you might be trying to derail all of this, and I think he is. I think he gets a thrill out of watching people struggle. I do. And I think that it makes him feel like a big man, even though he's not. So let's just show him something else, since he's decided that the federal government, it's not their job to take care of the country. It's up to the governors. Well, then let's do that. Let's show him we don't need him. And then November comes around, we let him know finally that we don't need him, right? Or any of these people that seem to want to frustrate the situation and not cooperate, right? So that's basically what's in the astrology for today. So without going through each one like I typically do, it just felt a little redundant. So I think that the strength of unity is where we need to be. And so do whatever you can today to reset your sails and recharge your course and include others that maybe you haven't spoken to in a while. Just let them know you love them and you're thinking about them and that you care what's going on and just stay in touch and stay connected with people today on this Wednesday, a day of trying to strike a balance maybe. Anyhow, let's take a look at our first three cards and see what we have for today. If this is your first time here, welcome. I appreciate you so much coming by and spending this time with us. How I do this, I take three cards. I do them randomly. I take the 13th one each time. If I need a fourth card, I'll add it. If I need a fifth card, I'll add it. I've done that twice the whole time I've done this. Once in a while, I'll have to add a fourth, but I've never added a fifth. And I almost got carried away and added a sixth, but I don't know. I like 6-card readings for some reason. I don't know why, but anyway. But for this purposes, I just do 3. So anyway, let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards. Then we'll look at a rune from the Elder Futhark bag. And then we'll close by creating a geomancy rune and look at how earth influences affect all of this. So, well, if my cards want to cooperate, I've been sitting here shuffling, but unfortunately not doing anything with them. Let's see, we have the Ace of Cups to start us out. Cups is about the emotions, our emotions. It's the water element. Again, change, adaptability, intuition. Although the fire element can also be intuition. It's also about being an empath or empathy. Not necessarily the same thing as being an empath, by the way. Although usually empaths do have empathy for others. But basically when you're an empath, you feel emotion. And and depending on how much you do, you may also be intuitive as well. I'm both. And so it's just how we communicate when we're not informed. It's telepathic communication. Or not, well, I mean, we think of it as telepathic here because we think mind to mind, but, you know, it depends on what your concept of the mind really is. So I think it's really more emotional resonance that we're communicating, but that's just me. Let's do our next card. Before I get on a tangent about being an empath and what that must be like for everybody else right now. Oh my goodness. So we have the 3 of Wands. Kind of active waiting for his ship to come in, waiting for something new to take hold. Waiting for the virus to settle down so that we can actually go back to work and go out and about in a way that I swear, though, I suspect that even though we're going to lift the quarantine and the self-isolation or whatever you want to call this, I think that we're not going to be able to go out without wearing gloves and without masks for some time. I don't think we know as much as we want to know about this yet. And I think that as much as they're trying to figure it out, I think that um, you're going to have people that are going to react differently. There was an issue last night on Rachel's show where she interviewed a woman who uh, she's still positive, even though well, she's over the virus and she's still positive. So they don't know what that's about. They don't know if she's still contagious. They can't tell. Um, Not even sure that antibody tests probably won't tell. They don't know what to do to figure out if this woman can go back to work. And because theoretically she should be able to, but she doesn't want to, her employer her coworkers are concerned that, well, okay, but you're still testing positive. So what's that about? Is it a faulty test? Doesn't seem so because she's had more than one. So what's going on here? So we don't know, do we? So I almost with the three of wands here, you're waiting for the truth to be revealed so that you know when you can go about your business again. Let's do our last card. It's so odd to interpret these cards with respect to the pandemic. We can talk about maybe you're waiting for your ship to come in and you're going to have a new job coming your way and all of that. But are you? We don't know, do we? Maybe you're going to go back to your regular job that you had. Maybe that's not ever going to be there again. Small businesses may close forever. They may not be able, especially if the government isn't going to help them, and it doesn't look like they're going to, at least not everyone. What's going to happen? How long can your landlord wait to put someone else in there if you're not, there, sending him your rent money every month, right? So there's going to be some hard decisions having to be made, and emotion really can't come into play here for some in some situations. If it can, great. If you can wait, do it. But if you can't, what then? So you see, there's lots of things you're going to be thinking about, but you have to think it. So what I've been trying to do is do this, both the astrology and the tarot and the runes, from the perspective of what we're dealing with right now, and so I don't know. Maybe the three of I didn't tell you, we had the eight of cups. So we have an 11, we have a 12 energy, so three overall, and a 6 energy for today. So that's higher self and shared purpose. So let's try to look at this collectively with respect to today's numerology as well. And also with respect to all the places where Aquarius is in the chart today. The moon is in Aquarius. Let's remind ourselves. We've got, let's see, the sun and Mercury are both in Aries. The moon, Mars, and Saturn, they're all in Aquarius. We've got several things in Chiron's in Aries too. A few things in Pisces, Neptune, and Lilith, but we got several things in Capricorn too. So even if you just looked at that and that alone, what we're talking about here is a shift on our foundation, on our physical structure in life, either with respect to self-isolating or maybe with having to think outside the box to do your work at home, or maybe this is going to put you into a different place that, with respect to where you're going to work or how you're going to work. We don't know, again, what everything's going to look like. Had we done this in February, we might be in a different place right now. And some of these concerns that we have, we wouldn't have them. We would have known that the government's going to have to fund businesses so that they can stay afloat and pay their staff, so that when this is over, they can all come back and get back to work. We didn't do any of that, though. And so now, I think we're behind the 8 ball, maybe. I don't know. But I think that the Ace of Cups, what I think we're looking at there, anytime you look at the aces in any of the suits, it's the beginning of the suit itself. It holds all of the energy of the entire suit. All of the rest of the cards, in other words, are contained within this one card. It's the genesis of new emotion. It's the genesis of new compassion. But the familiar theme of the hand reaching out from the clouds, from the unknown, which is indicative of spirit. You see the dove of peace dropping the disc with the cross on it into the chalice. You're watching abundance overflowing, emotional abundance overflowing out of the chalice, even before the disc is dropped in. Of course, perhaps the dove of peace has been dropping more discs in that we just don't know about. But at the very minimum, we have the overflowing genesis of new emotional expression here. Loyalty is part of that. You know, we become loyal to someone typically because of an emotional response to them. Maybe intellect's involved, maybe will is involved, but for the most part, when you become a supporter of something, or a supporter of someone, a supporter of a cause, no matter what it is, it's emotion-based. And so now with the Ace of Cups is suggesting that something new is there, that emotions about something are changing. It's like when you suddenly realize that things aren't what you thought they were. When you suddenly realize and you suddenly know what the truth is about something. And I think that's, we're seeing that in the astrology. We're also seeing that here in the Ace of Cups, where we're having to think outside the box. We're having to reconsider things and reflect on things that we once thought were true, and that maybe now we know that maybe it's not. And we're going to have to go a different way. But without that new genesis of emotions, without that new awareness, that empathic awareness of what is true, because that's the thing, with empaths, we know this because we have this inner lie detector, so people can't lie to us. We're going to know. Now, it may take a bit. We might have to feel in it or so for a bit to really understand what the lie's about, but we know we're being lied to. And so it's really weird. It's weird to stand there with somebody who's lying through their teeth, and there's nothing you can do. They're not going to ever admit it. And it's so frustrating to have to deal with that. And at some point, you finally just come to the awareness that maybe a decision has to be made about that person. Maybe you don't engage with them much because, or you limit it to something that's so light and so superficial that it doesn't matter what they say. My husband and I, we know people like this. Men, they're not women, they're men. I don't know any women that do this. I'm sure there are, but I don't know any. But, well, actually, I do know one. I do know one who is that superficial, and who will use whatever moment to her advantage. But most of these, there's a couple guys I know of in particular that you really have to maintain a really superficial relationship with them, because they're going to sit and BS the whole conversation. You have no idea if any of what they're saying is even remotely true. There might be a grain of it. It might have started with a seed of truth, a kernel of truth, but then the rest of the conversation is complete crap, right? So I think that we're in that moment right now. And as we allow that to happen, then something new can take place on the horizon. This is such an interesting card. You really have to look at the placement of the wands, or the staffs in this case, to truly understand. He's on a precipice, though, you could say, looking out over an expanse. Kind of barren, isn't it? You see some mountains in the distance. And he's holding a staff in one hand. It's straight up and down. So there's an alignment there with purpose. The wands is the fire element. So you're talking will, purpose, intuition, the creative spark. So something new is developing. But here, what he's done here, though, is he's walked through a doorway of sorts to get on the other side of the other two staffs, right? Look at that. Because he's on the other side of it. Now, another recurring theme, along with the hands reaching out from the clouds and mountains in things that indicate struggle and challenges and things like that, you'll see in the 8 here, you'll see he's walking uphill, and there's rocks around and big craggy ones there as he walks away from emotions that no longer serve him. But you can see that he's going uphill. There's some rocks in his way. And so things are going to, even though he's doing this willingly, it's still going to be difficult, right? There might be some challenges ahead, and that's okay. He's willing to do it because he knows that whatever emotions he was dealing with really aren't relevant right now. He's put them in order by again, stacking them on top of one another. They're likely empty, so they're not serving him anymore. And whatever he can take from it, he's done. He's reordered everything, and off he goes now into something new. But he did it because he walked through a doorway in balance, knowing, in trust, trusting the outcome of something new to take hold. Now, typically, I would say this is a guy of means, a merchant possibly, who's waiting for a ship to come in. But, I don't think that we can do that now, can we? Sure, there's going to be a certain amount of waiting to see what's going to take hold. But he stepped through a doorway here. 2 pillars, 2 trees, 2 mountains, any type of path between. It signals taking a leap of faith in a very real sense that what's about to, and he's out there, he doesn't even know what's going to happen. There's nothing visible down there. You see something, but I'm not sure what it is. It could just be, well, I mean, they are ships, actually. But the water's not blue, it's orange and yellow, isn't it? But I don't think we can really, well, so if you look down there, those are ships, definitely. A couple of them look like buoys. But you can look upon it as, I would say then, I mean, in a sense, well, the river Styx just came to mind, but it's clearing up. So, well, I think that if you're talking the river Styx, and you're talking about some transformation, aren't you? So this card actually, with respect to what's going on now, is actually even more meaningful in terms of something happening and breaking through. But the idea is that some new awareness is taking place, new emotional awareness, a different level of trust, understanding that things are not as they seem, and understanding that we have to make our way now together, leaving behind emotions that no longer serve. Let's do one more card, though. In a sense, you could take and you could put the 8 first, couldn't you? Where we're leaving behind emotions that no longer serve, and embracing new ones with the Ace that then allow us to go through a doorway into new experiences that are just forming. I'm really taken by this body of water that isn't blue. Let me do the card, and then I'll show you what I mean. And I think I'm happier with this order. I think starting with the 8 is where I was having trouble. It's like, okay, I'm always having to go back and grab something. I felt like I had to go back and grab something from before. So in the interpretation, so I'm going to move the 8 to the first card. Well, wish upon a star, the 17th rune of the major arcana. The aces have the same power, you know, as the major cards do, the soul archetype cards. But here we have the goddess in her pure form, nourishing both the waters of life and the land. We see a large star with 7 more around her, or 7 more around it. Although stars are, you know, spiritual creatures as well. It's all source energy. But she's purifying the land with her source presence. Notice she's not dipping anything out of the water. So she's the source of that water. It's not coming from that pool. And it aligns really well with the ace, doesn't it? So when we talk about the star, we talk about our hopes, our dreams, our wishes, wishes coming true. And I think that at least for this time being, I think that we have to loosen the emotional ties we have to whatever, you know, causes we may have become involved with, and understand that when a governor is telling you that you don't have to socially isolate, that you can go to church, you can do all of these things, and you don't have to wear any protection, that it's silly. Well, some of the pastors of these churches are dying now. Their congregations are becoming ill. Worshiping the Creator in fellowship with one another never had to take place inside a building. It can always take place in your heart. You know, the trappings are just that. They're trappings, just like these bodies. They're trappings. They're the vehicle with which we explore this tangible world, whether it's the community we live in, the friends we have, the body we inhabit, the place we work, where whatever it is. They're just the trappings with which we do that. That's all. I mean, it could be nothing. It could just be all, you know, emotion, soul-based. It wouldn't even have to be tangibly based. Higher vibrating souls, when they get up to higher densities, there's nothing physical about their existence with one another. It's all non-physical. So right now, though, in this dimension that we're in this dimension of experience, it's physicality that we're exploring. So, you know, this type of, a dense type of physicality. It's not that the non-physical aspect of self can't have its own type of physicality within that, and that's how, you know, you're interacting by merging, right? Soul energy. So, you know, it's all a perspective there, isn't it? But I think that when we're talking about bringing the star into it here, our hopes and dreams have been shattered a bit, haven't they? And it's time that we bring in spirit to recharge all of that. And that's what she's doing. That's what the goddess is doing here. The water from her pitchers, it's not coming from that pool. It's coming from her. And she pours blessings into our the water element, or our emotions. She's blessing us there, providing compassion and love and support for what we're going through. And then she's healing the land with the same thing. So healing the virus, basically, and bringing health again to the earth. The Ace of Cups can also be about what we value. Are we going to value one another? Are we going to value life? Are we going to value a collective response to things? Or are we going to value something that destroys everything? Because that's really what we've got going now. There's an either-or aspect of things happening. And if we leave behind emotions that no longer serve us, then maybe we can move forward in compassion with other people, with the genesis of something new taking hold, nourishing both, you know, our emotions and the physical realm of life, the earth herself. Because basically what we have right now, when you have a pandemic, the earth and her children are threatened. So we need to understand that that's what we are to one another, and we need to let go of emotions that no longer serve us, but maybe have provided some clarity into what we're really experiencing right now. And then we gather our will together. We step through the doorway into something new as that incredible yellow and red body of water is transforming before us into perhaps a new direction, one that we create together. Nathis is the rune. It's the 10th rune, I believe, of the Elder Futhark. It is it's a one, so it's a one energy of beginnings, of wholeness. But what Nathis represents is one of the 3 Norn runes given to Odin. He had to learn a few things, basically. And one was the proper use of the friction within to make things happen. You have Hagalas, which is the 9th rune. That's another Norn rune for the past. This one's for the future. And so with Hagalas, you have destruction and preparation for change. And then with Nathis, you have the friction within to make that happen. And then with Isa as the 11th, you have alignment and source presence, and from that point is where you manifest, from source presence. Notice I didn't say ego, because when the ego gets going, that's when the dark forces are active. And we have a lot of that right now. It's been on planet for a long time, and although I think that the tipping point has been reached where they're not going to have the effect they think they're going to have. In the meantime, they're going to cause a lot of trouble until we get past all of that. But Nathis provides us with the friction within to do that. Let's look at the geomancy ring and see what it has to say. Let's see, I have a single dot for fire, single for air. Oh, well, we have poor energy, little boy energy. We're supposed to be watching our impulse control today, But this is the rune. It's just basically unstable, youthful energy, lack of impulse control. Think little boy energy. This is little girl energy, or puella. So flighty, But not a negative energy, but just something where, sometimes impulse control gets the better of us and we act without thinking and speak without thinking. And I think that today, especially with the astrology being the way that it is, there's several areas there. Moon conjunct Uranus was one. Sun square Jupiter. 12th house Aries also. Let's see, also Sun square Pluto. So we have some strong energy today where basically that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be maybe trying to keep a lid on our will, keep a lid on our responses to people. Just understanding that we're all going through something that's unusual and difficult maybe and emotional, particularly if tragedy has happened. So you're having to contend with a lot of different emotions right now. So be gentle on yourself, be gentle on one another, be there in support without judgment, and just control the little boy energy within and just avoid saying something that without tact, A lack of tact can be really harmful at a time like this, Where just something you say that's maybe off color is just, I don't know, it just hits you wrong. And so just be aware that everybody's in their own varying places of acceptance over what's going on. And again, if there's been really difficult moments that have happened, that's all factored in. And we have to be there for one another. So again, if you are estranged from anybody and you can find it at all a way to drop all of that and just reach out and let them know that that you care about them and that their safety and health matters, and, you know, find a way to just stay in support with one another. And we'll get through this. Don't listen to the briefings unless you want to listen to Cuomo's briefing or a local briefing or something. But as far as the guy in the Oval Office, I wouldn't be listening to that. And they need to pull everything. They need to pull his Twitter account. They need to stop him. And if he won't stop giving them, then by all means, the media does not need to televise it live. He's lying to everybody, and it's insulting. It's just insulting, and it's sadistic to continue to do this, to come out every single day and take issue with people that are telling the truth while you stand there and vomit out your lies. So I would advise not listening to it. It's too upsetting. It's just too much. So let the reporters do their job a different way and report on what he says. Maybe even include a clip, but you need to tell the truth about it. It's not one perspective. It's either the truth or it's not. Okay? We're not talking alternative facts, which was ridiculous. How stupid was that, right? There's no time for that now. There's no time for someone else's ridiculous perspective that's not even grounded in the truth, not even remotely. So we're not going to have the metrics up here or pull everything out of you-know-where. We got to have the facts. That's what we need to focus on. And those facts, unfortunately, just when we think we know something, then we have someone on Rachel's show that says, yeah, I'm still positive, even though I'm fine. So what are we really looking at? So again, we're going to have to take into account and not think of, oh, well, they lied to us. No, they had a certain level of understanding. And now, as we get further into it, we're going to have to know that that's going to change. And so what we thought was okay, maybe is going to alter. Maybe we don't have to be quite as vigilant. Maybe we have to be more. We don't know. In the days ahead, more and more is going to come forward. You have to listen to it. All right? Especially if the wacky guy is telling you that everything's cool and everything's groovy, because it isn't. So that's all I'm saying. Anyhow, that's it for today. Come back tomorrow, and then we have 3 days off, and then we come back on Monday. I just do this 4 days a week. So in any event, thanks for watching. This is going to go up over on the blog as well as on the YouTube channel, of course. And so will the correspondences and astrological information for today. That's done at noon instead of, whenever I come in here to do this. But do look for that, and check. I also let people know when stuff I write on Medium goes up, because I do write over there. I also write over on Patreon. I have a Patreon page. If you want to support me over there, that'd be lovely. Thank you so much if you do. I don't have tiers established. It's just, donation is all. But it's one of those patronage sites, where you help struggling authors and journalists and trying to do their own thing, and musicians and whatnot. It's basically an artist site. Writers, musicians, painters, whatever. That's typically what's over there. But there's quite a few of those out there now. Substack's another one. A lot of writers, journalists are using Substack. But it's just a way for us to basically earn a little income, or in my case, just to offset blog costs. Because believe it or not, you realize once you go on to I started on Blogger, and now I'm over on Bluehost, and I'm using WordPress, but for the blog. But once you do that, then you start to see that you have to. There's different plugins that will help your whole website look better and function better and make things easier and all of that. So if you end up having to have some costs associated with it. And so whatever people can do to offset that through advertising, and I like to be careful with the advertising I do. But because I don't like those weird ads, but you know what I mean. But beyond that, you know, it's not easy for a blog to, unless you're selling things or something, it's just not easy, or you're a subscription type of a blog, which I'm not. You know, you have to have other ways to bring in income, and so you just try to do what you can to offset some of that, and with ads and writing other places and things like that. So anyway, and sometimes you do it when you have a patronage a site that you have. So anyhow, check all that out. There's lots of links under the video here if you're looking at this on YouTube, and check those out if you want to. Follow me wherever you want to, and that'd be lovely. And come back tomorrow, and you know, subscribe here. That'd be cool. Anyhow, thanks a lot, you guys, and stay safe, stay protected, stay home if you can. If you can't, then make sure you're protected when you go out, and be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.